Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. The first person to guess where I am gets free stuff. We got Jeff over to the right of myself, and guess where we're at? We're at the iZotope headquarters right here in Bosstown. We got Sam behind the cam. Sam behind the cam, I just thought of that. We got Peter on the meter, let's go. And we are here at the iZotope headquarters, and I got a crazy track we're gonna get into. I mean, this room is so like perfected. We got mastering stuff around me. I'll show you all the cool pictures on IG, but let's get into how to master your track a lot easier and to hear the stuff that you can't hear in your room. Because like the problem is at home, when we're at home, Jeff, the problem is you can't hear the reflections off your walls. You can't hear the corners where the resonance build up. You can't hear all this stuff. And so you start mixing improperly. So I have a track with Audrey Rochelle that we did over in LA, over at Paramount Recording Studios. And let's load up something that helps me understand where I'm messing up. Okay, so in Ozone 9, all you gotta do, they make easy easier. Like that's legitimately what it does. So if you click on Master Assistant, follow along, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Master Assistant, make this super easy. I leave it on modern, I leave it on medium, and I leave it on streaming. So that means you hit two buttons, hit next, and you want to pick the loudest portion of your song. So the loudest portion for us is the verse going into the hook, okay? So we're gonna play that, and let's load up Ozone 9, and it says waiting for the audio, because I'm taking forever.
I know you used to love me, you could prove it without even saying a thing. I could feel it by the way you used to touch me, I could feel it by the way that you embraced me. Now you wanna erase me, a familiar face, oh yeah, 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 slowly fading away, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Can you tell me what changed? Was it me? Was it you? Was it fate? Oh.
All right, so this is perfect for 2 tracks. This is perfect for your session in the FL. So for this session, I have multiple tracks, probably 50 tracks, 20 plus tracks. I don't know how many tracks, I didn't count, but we have 20 plus tracks. This is also great for a 2-track because it will readjust the energy of the track. So this is a problem that we have usually when you get beats off of, you know, the websites. They only give you the 2-track because you don't have enough money really to buy the whole multi-track beat. So you buy the 2-track and then you can't do much with it because unless you have the tracks, you can't really readjust it. You know what I mean? So iZotope goes in and it readjusts all the things that you can't grab on a typical 2-track, and it fixes it for you. So the first place I look is the EQ, the dynamic EQ. This is a teaching tool. So it's not just for beginners. This is not just for amateurs who don't know how to mix. This is actually a teaching tool for advanced players. So for example, at 295 Hertz, it's doing a dynamic EQ where it's cutting at 4 dB. So this gives me a general rule of thumb. Okay, when I'm mixing at home, I'm missing the same spot every single time. So if it's giving me a clean mix and I'm always missing 295, I need to be conscious that maybe my headphones are not compensating for that area. Maybe it's my room, maybe it's my brain. I don't know, I'm crazy. So what I do is to get used to this frequency, I solo it and then I just listen. Because we were talking about, Sam and I were talking about perfect pitch, right? And perfect pitch is the same in the mixing world too. Some engineers can hear 400 Hertz and be like, that's 400 Hertz. That's 100 Hertz. I can't really hear the difference except the low end. But 295 is like my weak spot. And I was telling Jeff earlier, it's a common, you know, recurring theme for me. And also my other weak spot is 700 Hertz. So chances are we're gonna get somewhere between 700 cutting out and then 250 or 290. Which is around 300. So anyway, this is a teaching tool for the advanced people out there. It's not just like an easy button just for the beginners, but it works for the beginners great and it works for the advanced people great. So the EQ will also change the way you think about EQing. Again, this is a learning tool more than anything. You can always add stuff, and I'll show you how I'm gonna add an imager, for example, to widen it out and give it a creative touch. Me and Jeff talk about it a lot, because this is doing all the technical stuff that you can't really see. What would be an analogy of like the computer, like something that we do every day, but like we don't do it perfectly. Brushing your teeth. I'm sure there's areas on your teeth that you're just completely missing, but if you had a robot toothbrush that knew all the little spots that you'd miss, then you'd have perfect white teeth every day. So that's kind of the same thing here. So it's giving you the technical approach, and then you can make it creative after that.
I know you used to love me, you could prove it
So I want to make a note here. I wouldn't think to cut the bass at a certain point, but it actually makes it more clear. You wouldn't think to boost at 12K. So like the computer changes your paradigm of thinking, and just use it as a teaching tool and a place to start. Super quick, get your mixes done in what, how many seconds was that? Probably 30 seconds? I mean, not even 30 seconds, less than 30 seconds for the Master Assistant. All right, so this is just a tool to make everything better for you. And let's turn on True Peak mode on the maximizer. And it makes it loud enough for streaming, because a lot of people, one last thing, a lot of people make their tracks too loud or too quiet. So this is gonna make sure it sits on the levels where YouTube, you know, thinks it's okay. Or Spotify. What do you use to stream your music, Jeff?
Apple Music.
Or Apple Music, okay? And it's gonna make sure it's not offending their loudness, okay? So that's why they have a streaming option for you there. Now, one other plugin I like to add in here on the master is an imager. Now, every song is completely different. That's why this is a creative tool, not a technical tool. But in this case, they allow you to draw your own bands, because before it used to be pre-populated, but now you get to draw your own bands. So draw it in. What I like to do is draw it in around 80 hertz, because I feel like 80 and below, you can't really tell where it's coming from. Have you ever gone to, like Peter or Sam, have you ever gone to a yoga session where they ring that little thing around the bowl? And you can't tell like where it's coming from. It's just like all around the room. So the same thing with your bass. You really can't tell where it's coming from. But I'll show you a couple tricks in other videos. But what I like to do usually is pull the bass dead center or mono. And if you're unsure, just solo the band and then pull it mono. This is gonna tighten up your drums and make your drums seem a lot more punchy without doing anything except you know, tricking the brain. And then I make other stuff wide. So I'll separate it into bands, and this is the last kind of technical touch I do. You just solo the bands. And here's a trick. If you want that Schoolboy Q type of sound, it's okay to widen your tracks. A lot of people are scared to widen. They think it's gonna be like have phase issues. If you think you're gonna have phase issues, go to the phase meter here.
I know you used to laugh.
And the technical name is the correlation trace view, okay? But if it's too deep in the red, that's when you know you have too much phase stuff going on, okay? So that's your only indicator, but just try and push your stereo imaging a little bit harder.
I know you used to love me. You could prove it without even saying a thing.
And that's gonna make your track feel vibrant. It's gonna make it feel like it has a stage, make it feel real, okay? So these are little nuanced things I like to do. And there's infinite ways you can add your touch to this. I'm gonna wrap it up. There's so many things we can get into. But anyway, I wanna thank Jeff to my right. I wanna thank Sam behind the cam, and I wanna thank Peter on the meter. There we go. All right, guys, if you like iZotope, if you tried Ozone 9, I wanna know in the comments below. Thumbs up the video if you wanna see more of these videos. We are here at the Bosstown headquarters for iZotope. There's a bunch of cool stuff around me. I feel like I'm in Toys R Us, if it still existed. And I want to say thank you. It's BusyWorksBeats.com.